Welcome back folks, today we finally have some Gothic Remake news. Sadly not about the release date, that still says Q1 of 2026 without a pre-order, which makes me worried that there might be a delay, but let's see what happens. In any case, we do have a lot to talk about as Alchemia released new behind the scenes documentary, this time focusing on characters, locations, animations, and a new mechanic of upgrading your armor and changing the visual style itself, which we will discuss later in the video. First off, when it comes to characters, it's one of the aspects of the game that I think took a lot of their time, as they were changing and iterating on designs to make characters we know and meet throughout the game closer to how they were in Gothic 1, but also taking inspiration from fan art, cosplay to bringing these characters to life. They also showed the art of Gothic book, which I really need to get. It's one of the best art books in regard to Gothic, as it showed all of the original concept art and design leading from Gothic 1 itself. They showed a lot of known characters including Diego, Gorn, Milton, Lester and Nameless himself. We had a chance to see a good chunk of them before, but having them all in proper light is good. Especially because they keep showcasing different iterations of that same character. Personally, I'm fine with how they look. Gomez seems a bit different. Personally, different facial hair as well, but the light grey hair in the middle is there, so they do have, some similarities in that sense. Maybe the beard would be the kind of a thing which stands out the most here as being that, totally different. Zardas also looks a lot more as a necromancer though, which I can understand being the type of a mage he is, and for newcomers who play the game for the first time, it might be interesting, for him to stand out so much. I mean, he does spend all of his time in the tower, some vitamin D, would be good. But you tell me down below, what do you think about this? I'm also happy that they clearly want to have more variety with characters you meet, not just with, important characters or quest characters, but even the filler NPCs. This also means that pieces of armor characters wear will have variety. We know about this already, but at least we saw how they created a tool where they can mix and match those outfits, pieces of outfits faster and easier, so they don't actually have to make a sacrifice due to a budget and have characters which look similar but with slight variety. This is very good. It seems some tools are also developed which help frame rate in Unreal Engine 5. I'm happy to hear that. I do hope this game runs well on release, especially because of how good it looks visually, and on top of that, having all of those effects of rain, that's going to take a toll on the frames for sure. The same thing goes for locations, as some locations we visit in the original game which were not fully utilized or finished, well, they will be finished here, like for example Ancient Monastery. Being that the world will be bigger in scale, technically, but still retain the same layout like we know from the original title, it's good to take these locations that were empty or maybe not fully done with only a few enemies and add actual content to it. That's fine for me because it does not directly impact the main story, or well, what the original story was and how it played out. One aspect which looks good are also weather changes, at least from these shots here with how wind will react to the sea and waves, and as you explore there will be a lot more movement in the foliage and trees to really sell you that immersion. Now let's talk about armor alterations as they call it here. So originally in Gothic you were given armor or were buying better versions of it as you moved up your ranks in a faction you choose to be. So if you were working for the old camp, you start off as a shadow, then shadow armor has some variations which increase your stats. In Remake you will be able to customize the armor from that faction even further, adding stuff like studded vest like we see it here, different levels to it. It's not only visual, but you get stats as well. But it does seem that the armor progression itself, like guard armor and so on, which you get only when you become a guard, well, you still have to earn it like in the original, and then you can further upgrade that armor as well, as I understand. And this is fine for me. I like there is additional money sink, and let's face it, after a while you do get a lot of ore in the original. So economy wise, it's nice that they, there is a way to spend it on something. For me at least, it's a new feature that makes sense to be in the game without overstepping into the original game design. They also discussed cutscenes and how they are doing different checks, which also influences camera angles. I mean, in general, pretty usual stuff, but providing additional camera position and angles makes dialogue more interesting, so it's not just, 2 frames jumping back and forth as you talk to someone. That's boring, so having this, additional scenes, etc., which do happen during dialogue is nice. We also get to see the intro scene a bit. It seems it will stay exactly as it was in the original, where Nameless is approached with a letter and gets tossed in, same with the goods being carried to Gomez. And I do wonder how many new players will immediately open a sealed letter without actually knowing it bears, consequences for the game. So that's gonna be fun. For the end, Alchemia went into detail about animations, focusing on general animations of walking, running, then transitions and locomotions between that. I mean, in general, for a lot of people, animations in the new demo felt a bit difficult or heavy, being that they were very physics-based. Now, Alchemia went and fixed combat animations from the demo, so keep that in mind. There are some very positive changes in that aspect, which I covered previously. You can watch that video as well. But again, we have to wait for the game to come out to really see it in action, but at least they were really paying attention to it. They were doing like stuff which you can see in this video to try and make it good, but at the same time to make it as realistic as possible, so it's also like interesting to watch as you play. I think that in general Alchemia is doing a good job on how they want to portray the remake. Not directly making one-to-one, but rather a version of the game which is a mix of their ideas, original developer ideas, and community feedback. And I can't say they were not listening, because over the span of the entire development we have seen these changes in their behind-the-scenes gameplay videos and additional ones they release, so they do listen to what people have to say. This is also the best and last shot for Gothic as an IP to go back into the spotlight and bring more people not only to the universe but also to classic Gothic games. We can have both, and I do wish that this game is a success, because well, that means potentially a green light for Gothic 2, who knows. But as far as the actual release date goes, that is nowhere to be seen. We have entered February, I mean Q1 is technically until March 31st, so they are either gearing for a shorter marketing push and pre-orders, or an additional delay is coming. And that's it for today. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, consider liking and subscribing. Tell me down below what do you think about all of this, and join our community on Twitter and Discord. Big thanks to my Patreon supporters, and we'll see you soon in another video. Bye bye.